A big on a roll welcome to our special guest this episode, Erin McGathy.
Hello. Just rolling in here.
Yes, just rolling with it. Thanks. Thank you so much for joining us. Everyone watching, you'll know Erin from the internet, from a plethora of D&D and TTRPG and different games, and also as one of the Right to Say founders and one of the producers behind Mob Theatre in Dublin, which you can find on mobtheatre.ie. Yep. They have shows every Thursday, one of which is sometimes a D&D themed show with Steve, that's Dungeons and Dragons, but they have so much else going on. So if you are in the Dublin area, do head by on Thursday evenings, and you might see Erin there, but you'll also see a fantastic show guaranteed every time. We are here to talk a little bit about that, but through the lens of playing games with friends. So with that in mind, for anything I might have missed introducing you, and for anything you might want to tell the audience about, could you tell us a little bit about you as first and foremost, as a person and a performer?
God, as a person, wow. As a performer, I'd say like I'm mostly an improvisational performer, improvisational comedian, almost a key median. We were talking before we started about how I'm very comfortable without rehearsal, and that is clear. But yeah, I do mostly improv comedy and sketch comedy, and I suppose it was like 10 years ago or so when I started doing live D&D comedy shows. Started doing it before I really understood what D&D was, but I was let know, like I was alerted to that fact immediately by the good people of Reddit. So
yes, yeah. They're always kind and always critical in constructive ways, I find.
Yeah. No, I feel like they made me better.
Yeah, well, that's good. We'll cut straight into it. So we're talking a little bit about the crossover between TTRPGs and sort of performers, theater kids, improvisers, comedians. There's a nice like Venn diagram where it sort of fits away from the number crunching, here's my stats, here's my min-maxing stuff that some people love, and more into the here's my character and here's how to bring them to life at the table. And I was wondering, in your opinion, do you think there is anything about tabletop games or role-playing games that appeals to theater kids?
Yeah, I'd say the thing about tabletop games that appeals to theater kids, and I love that you say theater kids, because when you say theater kids, I immediately picture like Glee.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Which isn't, not totally wrong, but I think it's all collaborative creativity, and or to make it even more simple, it's just playing with other people in a different space, for better or worse, and that is definitely what role playing is. And yeah, I think it's just more make 'em ups.
Yeah, I think it comes from that same space of like you're a kid and you're playing make believe, and then usually parents are like, go do that in front of your aunts and uncles. And that can sometimes find yourself in the back of a game store playing make believe with your friends.
Totally. Yeah.
Are there any tips or tricks as a trained improvised comedian that you've picked up that you think would apply to DMs or players and that they could bring to their games?
Yeah. I mean, I'll say that when I started doing D&D, and I was doing it in front of an audience, not really like I've always been very into fantasy and was very aware of D&D, but wasn't aware of all the number crunching, as you call it. And I think like when I started doing it, I was like, oh, we can make up and do anything. And you can't really do anything. But I'd say that like if my improv background is helpful at all, it's just with like making choices. And I feel like anytime for me when I've been playing, when I've felt like, fuck, like I don't like what I'm doing right now, or I've made a weird choice and now I have to live in it. Like it's more the pain over not making a choice or feeling like you can undo the choice. And I think, yeah, the improv thing that's helpful is like getting to a choice. And I think also focusing more on your fellow players and that interaction versus your own shit is massively helpful.
Yeah, and I think you touch upon something nice about a game, especially a home game, is that if you do make a choice in a session and you're not all that happy with it, well, guess what? You're probably going to meet in a week or two or a month or again.
Yeah.
And it's characters do evolve. They're hopefully three-dimensional, personalities. So it's always a chance to learn. And I do love that about the game, that you can kind of make a choice, see how it feels, see how it fits, and go, oh, maybe I won't, go down this road. And sometimes those are big choices in games. I don't know if you've found this. It's like other players who are good at this, they'll kind of they'll see what you're going for, and they'll either reward the choice or they'll start kind of gaming the scene a little bit and kind of bringing that to the forefront a bit more, which I love. Which leads me to my next question, which is, that's talking about improvised skills into the table, but have you had any moments, or has there been anything where something at the table has informed your life the other way? Something you've experienced and you're like, oh, wow, my D&D character taught me something.
Ooh, that's a great question. I'd say, my first reaction to that is that, like, it definitely, for better or worse, helps me learn more about my friends that I'm playing with.
Yes.
But gosh, yeah, I've never really thought about that the other way around. Oh, actually, yes, there was, well, two things. Like I used to be a part of a podcast, Harmontown, that I did with my ex-husband and our friends, and it was very like incestuous in that it was just like pals and then performing on stage, and then we also played our own private game at home. And there are definitely choices that I would make with my character, who is a half elf ranger, who I wound up way out. Like, what is the politically correct way to say dying by suicide in in RPG
right
world?
Self-sacrificing, is that?
Yeah, I was listening to a lot of negative feedback about my character from people who, and like, honestly, and I'm not just like chalking this up to like general misogyny, but I think a lot of it at the time was a bit misogynistic, and I didn't know how to let that kind of roll off my back or see that for what it was, and I also let that drown out any positive feedback at all.
Yeah. It's also not on you to have to like.
No.
Yeah,
I
right?
know. Yeah. I should clear. You're my therapist, right? And this is
yes. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, good. This is BetterHelp. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So like with that character, because I was getting all this negative feedback, I was like, well, clearly they just hate this character, so they'll be really happy if I just take out the character. And then they were way more frustrated by that. But that's all to say that, like, when I played a new character who I felt was like more close to who I was, I learned that actually that like the things in this like half elf ranger character, that was also me, and it felt, I don't know, like playing something that was like slightly different from who I am in real life, but also, I don't know, it's interesting playing on taking on different uh personality traits that you wouldn't include in your own narrative or in the story of your own ego. And I feel like more, if I'm taking anything from it, it's just kind of teaching you things about your own self, and kind of clearing up the story or self-limiting story that you might tell yourself in your waking life.
Yeah, I think that's so, like, it's so powerful and so important that there's, scales of personality, and you wouldn't necessarily put in I fight everyone I come across all the way up to 10.
Yeah.
But it's a lovely lesson to have, and especially when the table is a good table and a safe table, you can explore those aspects of yourself. which is,
yeah,
often traits shared by good directors and good collaborators and good performers. Give you the freedom to make those mistakes.
And your friends, like if you're playing with people who you are pals with, which you hopefully are, likely are, like allowing your friends to try on different things is a huge thing.
Yeah, I think it's very generous of people to do that for their friends. It's a really nice thing to see in this space. Now, obviously, you lift that carpet a little bit, and it's just gross, nothing but rats and horrible people.
Yeah, like, hey, can you stop murdering all of the bark keeps because it's making me afraid of you?
Yeah, exactly. So there's limits to play. And bringing it even back to that childhood play, I think we knew, when we were, on break from school, there was kids who took play too far, and you're like, okay, so we're not friends. That's good to know. I'm gonna go to the other people. Yeah. I suppose there's plenty of lessons we can learn at the table, but to close us out for this interview, one, thank you so much for joining us on today's episode.
But lovely to talk to you.
If there was someone who wanted to hone, say like a player or DM who wanted to hone their improv skills or their writing skills, and this is, to break kayfabe, a hell of a setup. Where would you recommend they go?
Well, look, I appreciate the plug setup, but even if I didn't run Mob, I would say this anyway. And I'd also say this in general, like if you're, and not to sound so hippie California about this, but like I think it is so immensely beneficial for your mental and spiritual health to engage in creative play as adults. And that is what improv is. Improv, there are like less, there are less structures and stuff. So it's a good thing. And I'll get to the actual question that you asked in a second. But improv is super great. So for anyone looking to work on their collaborative creativity or even just interpersonal stuff, mobtheater.ie. But yeah, for people who are running games, I would super highlight, I'd recommend improv and stuff, but and we have screenwriting classes and story structure classes, but beyond that, I'd recommend like reading stuff about story structure, learning about different genres and stuff. And people know this and feel like I'm preaching to the choir, but yeah, I'd say writing classes and exploring different characters. I'd also recommend, and this is just a random like objective hot tip, because I teach screenwriting classes, and so I have like a massive reference library of things. You can look on Amazon. There are books that list different character, I don't know, just for creating stories and stuff. But yeah, I'm talking a lot. I'm on a lot of lemp sip. It's not really a good excuse because I'm chatty anyway, but yeah.
No, I love it. And it's there are even resources you can bring to the table. Like a lot of DMs bring their reference guides, their module guides, but why not bring, a whole book of character traits? They just spin a page, tap a finger down. There's your NPCs.
Totally. Because I teach improv and stuff, like a big thing obviously with improv, the whole thing is that you don't have a script, but our brains, like we can't expect to like access every person we've met in our life and every experience and every location or whatever just at all times. And so I recommend to people like that they look at like a kid's encyclopedia before going on stage, just to like spark memories and shit like that. And I think having stuff like that for yourself as a DM or as a GM is really handy. And don't put pressure on yourself to just create things out of nowhere. And I don't mean that people are like reading stuff and they're like, okay, I'll talk about the Egyptian periods, I'll talk about I just said Egyptian periods. I'm sure they did have periods as well, but the pyramids are more famous than their menstrual periods. Yeah.
Mostly just because of the structure that they built to them, as opposed to
yeah, I only found that out recently, and it's we're
they left them there and all, which is nice of them, assuming they built them.
Well,
that's a different podcast.
Also, improv classes for people who are running games is great for seeing how to best talk to different sorts of people and lead them through a creative sort of thing. Like even just by seeing how the instructor talks to the different sort people learn and respond and communicate different ways, and being able to not take that personally and learn more about the way that people do that will make it more enjoyable for you and everyone else.
Yeah, I couldn't recommend it. Couldn't recommend it more.
You couldn't recommend it? Well, thank you for
yeah, sorry, I couldn't recommend it. Yeah,
really
I couldn't recommend
it
more. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to cut back to the studio, but it was an absolute pleasure having you on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and have fun out there, live people.